We all know that the economy could recover sooner. That would be dependent on how we effectively and quickly address the pandemic. Having said that, may I ask from our resource persons, one, is there a change of strategy with regard to our vaccination program? Meaning to say, we started this year by saying that we would inoculate 77 million people before the end of the year, and that would require 144 million doses. How are we insofar as this is concerned? Maybe we should ask NEDA.
Yes, Sec Carl, would you like to respond regarding? You're asking Senator Ralph regarding any pivot, no? Like latest developments, no?
Mr. Chair, Senator Recto, as I presented a while ago, we have administered around 36 million doses. Initially, I understand that 70% would be needed for a herd immunity. But because of the Delta variant, there are now new studies suggesting either a higher level of herd immunity or learning to accept that this virus may become endemic, meaning it may not disappear soon, thus requiring annual shots as if it were a flu. So that is the evolving thinking. And I understand the budget for next year has allocation for booster shot. Of course, we are monitoring this and trying to understand the direction on how we deal with the vaccination strategy. Thank you.
2 doses, 77 million Filipinos. Will we be able to achieve that before the end of the year? Because that was the original plan.
Mr. Chair, I am looking at the supply that is projected to come in the next few months. And it appears that there is a steady supply that is coming to help us achieve that. But I think Secretary Dominguez might be able to also contribute on this question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Right,
Chairman.
Morning, Secretary Dominguez.
Yeah. Senator Recto, yeah, good morning. You know, what we need to inoculate everybody is 9 million doses arriving a week. Okay. We have already ordered it. We have set aside the money for it. Now it is up to the pharmas to deliver. And so far, this first week of September, we are already short. Okay, I'll try to report that every week now. But basically, 9 million a week and doses arriving a week is what we need. Last week, I think we only got 3.5. So it is a matter of supply. Everything is already there. The order is there. The negotiations have been complete. The money is ready. So now we are waiting for the pharmas to step up to the plate. Thank you.
Yes. Based on current trends, so it would appear that we would not be able to vaccinate 77 million Filipinos before the end of the year. Based on current trends, would it be safe to say that in the first quarter of next year, we would be able to vaccinate 77 million?
That looks probable. That looks probable. But again, Mr. Senator, Mr. Chairman, you know, there are vagaries of supplies. Last month, one of the mRNA suppliers had problems. They had a batch that was very bad, and the deliveries to the private sector orders were delayed. So again, we hope for the best, and fortunately, we have been able to get a steady supply, particularly from Sinovac. They have come up with more than 50% of our deliveries. They're quite steady. Thank you.
Thank you for that response. No? So it would be good if the committee could be given some timeline of some sort, no? Based on current trends, where we are today, and
Yes.
when do we expect to be able to inoculate at least 70% of the population? And, I take note also of what Secretary Carl said, that maybe because of the Delta variant, we might have to inoculate 90% of the population. No? Now, having said that, my next question is, are we appropriating enough in the budget of the Department of Health to address other issues, no? Like testing, treating, isolating patients, so on and so forth? And do we have adequate resources to purchase medicines necessary to treat patients with COVID? I noticed that the budget for the health department will be less this year than last year. Is that a correct assessment? Maybe the secretary of the DBM?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, I would like to answer.
Yes, please.
I'll be allowed, yes. The budget of DOH, has been reduced because of two things. One is that it contains congressionally introduced changes. And number two, there are certain items in the budget of DOH which are considered devolved as a result of the Mandanas Garcia case, Your Honor. So actually that corresponds to the reduction. As to the amount that we provided for DOH for COVID related, it's built in under their specific piece.
Mr. Chairman, Secretary, what is the relationship of the Mandanas ruling with regard to our spending for the Department of Health?
There are certain programs, Your Honor, which has been devolved to local government units. So as a result, the local government units will be shouldering some of these programs, such as the hospitals, which are going to be devolved to the local government units. The local government
Will be
units
more
will shoulder
hospitals to
this.
be devolved? Will there be more hospitals to be devolved?
I am not sure how many hospitals are going to be devolved, Your Honor, but there are specific activities under the DOH which will be devolved to the local government units. And as a result, the funding for these items are no longer present in the national government budget. The assumption is that local government units will cover the deficiency.
With the permission of Ralph, just one point.
Yes, please continue. Yes.
Yes. Madam Secretary, Secretary Dominguez, we take note of the statement of the Secretary that the Department of Health budget was reduced because to a certain extent, many of the health services correctly was being devolved to the LGUs by virtue of the Bandanas ruling. But let me inform the good Secretary of Finance and the Secretary of Budget that there are dozens of bills now pending in the Senate and which will be reported out by the Committee on Health, which will rationalize, put back to the national budget and regionalize or make provincial hospitals regionalized hospitals, with the effect that the operations of these hospitals will again go back to the national budget. So I am making this intervention to place on the record and to flag our DBM and our DOF that this effort to address our bulging deficit as a result of the Bandanas ruling is not being served by the fact that there are hospitals which are now with the LGU budget that are being rationalized. I objected to this previously. Now there is a new trend. They are not being renationalized, but regionalized. In other words, a provincial hospital is being made a regional hospital, and the express purpose is to return this to the national budget. Thank you, Mr. Ralph, for your opportunity. But may we have the comment of the Secretary of Budget and the Secretary of Finance on this particular issue.
Mr. Chairman,
Chair, Mr. Chair.
Senator Recto
Yusek
and Senator
Kanda, hold on. I think Majority Leaders wants to make a comment. Majority Leader Zubiri, yeah.
Yes, because that will be in the floor, and if that is the floor, that will be my responsibility. I concur with the observation of Senator Drilon. I believe yesterday, Secretary Dominguez, Senator Bongo, who is very close to the cabinet, heard 20 bills on renationalization of hospitals. What guidance will you give us? Because very easy to pass these bills, but very difficult for fiscal responsibility. So we need to know officially from the DBM and from the DOF if they will agree to this renationalization of these measures so that we can be guided accordingly, secretaries. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to Senator Ralph and Senator Drilon for pointing this out.
Mr.
you,
Chair,
Sir
may I,
Dilio.
Mr.
Yeah, please
Chairman,
respond to the points, Yusek Tina. Thank you.
DBM has not, DBM actually objects to the renationalization of the hospitals because of the fiscal pressure it will cause on the budget. So, but we still defer to the decision of both houses in the event that they create or renationalize these hospitals. But we are actually not encouraging or not recommending renationalization of these hospitals as much as possible.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary Sani and then Vice Chair Aimee after.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, again, we have expressed our opinion in another fora, in other fora, that we object to the renationalization. There is another solution. The different provinces can contribute to the regional hospitals in accordance with the population of their people going to that hospital. See, one of the problems is that some provinces have poor health systems, and their residents go to other hospitals. Last night, it was pointed out by Senator Villar at a meeting that their hospitals in Parañaque, in Las Piñas, are full of people from Cavite. So in that particular case, perhaps the provinces can shoulder the bills of their residents going to other hospitals, and they certainly have enough money to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Aimee, you were raising your hand with the indulgence of Senator Ralph.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and with the indulgence of Senator Ralph, there are a great number of questions that surround the Executive Order 108, which mandates the devolution transition plan of national agencies, and the LGUs have been protesting the fact that nowhere in the Mandanas ruling is it stated that there should be full devolution of all hospitals by 2022 that have been listed by the DBM. As a matter of fact, we are puzzled by the fact that National Tax Allotment, formerly known as ERA, has actually increased in many provinces. So looking at the list of 81 provinces, only 23 registered an increase, 48 provinces showing a decrease. As an example, Pangasinan lost 277 million in the NTA. How is DBM computing this, given that Pangasinan is now expected to support several hospitals? So ito yung magulo, and on the part of the committee, I would like to ask for the devolution transition plan, yung DTP. Can we have a copy? And what is the action of the DBM on the said DTP? Further, we're also confused by the list of projects. Ito nga mga ospital, renationalized, upgraded to regionalized. Hilong-hilo po kami dito dahil yung list of projects or services, not only in the health sector, but including the agriculture and other sectors, formerly funded by the national government, now devolved to the LGUs. It's a complete and utter confusion, and as one of the original petitioners in the Mandanas case, we would like to be guided po.
Thank you, Vice Chair Amy, and again, with the permission of Senator Recto, may we ask the four agencies present perhaps to come up with a unified position on how to transition on the Mandanas, what is the transition plan, and perhaps rather than just reject outright the nationalization of the hospitals, perhaps come up with a comprehensive multi-pronged solution. Like I understand, governments, local governments are allowed by the DOF to borrow money. So let's prioritize borrowing money for health, or let's prioritize the loans which will upgrade provincial hospitals. I think that is one possible solution. And secondly, I think we should consider it per LGU, because the effect of the Mandanas ruling is to increase certain types of LGU funds, whereas others will remain somewhat stagnant. No, I'm referring to the lower class municipalities, whereas cities will increase. And perhaps there should be a comprehensive study made by the DBM and as well as the Bureau of Local Government Finance found in the DOF to assess the capacities of the various LGUs. Sexani, you're raising your hand.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Actually, the BLGF has a study showing what is the projected increase of the ERA to the different government units, and we will provide it to the Senate. I just don't have it here with me right now. I saw it about 3 weeks ago.
Thank you. Could they also, Sexani, in connection with that, could they break down how much is spent by each LGU for health, so we can see who can really afford to pay for their health services, who really needs the help of the national government? Sexani.
Yes, we will do that, Mr. Senator. The other thing is I'd like to mention is that Land Bank and DBP do provide loans for infrastructure. Okay, and definitely hospitals are part of infrastructure. What we cannot finance because of the law, we cannot finance the purchase of shots, okay, of
Vaccines, you mean,
vaccinations. Yes, but because that's considered operating expense, and we are not allowed. The local government code does not allow borrowing for that. But for infrastructure, definitely we are continuously providing financing to the local government.
Let's be selective about the infrastructure which the loans will fund, Secretary. I think you know my sentiment on this.
Yes, we are very careful about that, Mr. Senator. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Back to you, Senator Ralph. Thank you for allowing the intervention.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, may I answer? May I answer as
Yes, you Sec.
Just to clarify, to the question of Senator Amy, we will provide copies of the NTP as soon as they are submitted, because the deadline for this is September 30. We also wish to see the data that was presented, because based on our data, all the local government units will actually receive an increase for 2022. So that there might be a difference between a comparison of two local budget management LBM, local budget management circulars. So between 82 and 82A, so there might be some difference. So we'll just coordinate with the staff of Senator Amy about it.
Yeah, could you course it through the committee so we can also share it with
Yes,
the
Your Honor.
other
Yes.
senators? Thank you, Yusek. Go ahead, Senator Ralph. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question earlier was that why is it that the budget for health would appear to be less in 2022 than in 2021? And the response was That is because of the Mandanas ruling. Okay? Now, we are in the middle of a pandemic. I think our spending on health should be increasing, both at the local and at the national level. Surely the local governments who have little resources, like for example, in next year's budget in 2022, as presented, the allocation for LGs is only 21% of the entire national budget. Meaning to say 80% will remain with the national government. Okay? Now, it is difficult to think that we are reducing our spending on health. Okay? Now, how are we insofar as we discussed the vaccination program, no? And before I leave this issue, there is also a budget next year under a program for booster shots. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Would that be
Mr. Chairman.
sufficient? Considering that we have not allocated for possibly increasing the number of people that need to be inoculated, particularly those below 18, hindi ba dapat dagdagan pa natin yung pondo for vaccines next year, not only booster shots, but it would appear that we might need to provide vaccines to those below 18, 12 to 18, to hit 90% of our population, as mentioned by Secretary Carl Chua.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yusek, please.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, when the budget was prepared way back in April or May, there was no discussion at that time, no, regarding the Delta variant, regarding inoculating our citizens 18 years old and below. And that's the reason why, based on the submission of DOH, there was only a provision for the booster shot, which at that time, as was mentioned, no, during the time I recall,
I
the
get the
science
point.
was
Yeah.
still being done on
I
that
get the
issue.
point. I get the point, Yusek Tina, no?
So far as the provision that we gave, it was equivalent to 115.9 doses, 115.9 million doses. And it was funded under the 2021 budget, amounting to, I think, 76 billion plus 61 billion under foreign assisted projects. So the funding for the doses at that time, given the information we had, was limited to that amount. However, with this new information, then certain adjustments, we admit, must be done to the Department of Health.
And how much should that be, those adjustments?
At the moment, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, we don't have any data coming from the OH, how much this will entail.
Okay, and that's
With
why
the
we're
permission of
asking the
Senator
question.
Ralph, Yusek Tina, what have we budgeted for in 2022? Is it the 2 shots plus a booster, or just the booster?
Just the booster, Mr. Chairman.
Just the booster,
Because we
okay.
already
And
assumed
how much
that
do we
there
have
will
for
be
that?
enough.
How much do we have for that booster?
46.
For the booster, it is under the unprogrammed fund, and it's around 45 billion pesos, Your Honor,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Ralph.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, Senator Ralph, just 1.30
Yes, please,
seconds.
Vice Chair Joel.
30
Yes.
seconds. Yes, thank you, Chairman. No, I was looking at the budget, and it's correct. It's 45.7 billion under unprogrammed appropriations. But let me also point out, just to strengthen the position of our Senate President Pro Temp, the original proposal of DOH is 104 billion for this booster vaccine booster, Mr. Chairman. But again, the one listed right now is 45.7 billion. So we hope that we'll be able to, perhaps, I don't know if it is still a good idea to put it under the unprogrammed appropriations, because we all know that only if the government has surplus revenues from the collection of taxes, dun lang ma-access yan. No? So, yun po, gusto ko lang i-raise, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Ralph.
Salamat. Go ahead, Senator Ralph. Thank you, Senator Vice Chair Joel.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so let me continue, Mr. President. So there will be a need to increase the budget again for vaccines next year, no? Be it for boosters and to increase the number of people that need to be vaccinated, okay? More so because of the Delta variant, as mentioned earlier. Are there adequate resources also? For example, because the budget for next year, as I mentioned earlier, will be less Department of Health, no? Compared to this year. So how much do we intend to spend for testing, for example, next year? I'm
I
sorry.
think you're on mute,
Are we getting-
Yusek Tina, you're on mute.
Sorry. Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, we don't have data specific to testing with regards to the DOH budget. I don't have it with me at the moment, but we can provide the committee.
Do any of our secretaries have the figures for testing, Your Honor? Secretary Carl or Secretary Sani or or anyone in the DBM? Would you have those figures? I see Secretary Carl shaking his head. So we'll request that Secretary Ralph from them.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. While we're at it, so testing, contact tracing, is there a budget for contact tracing next year?
Contact
Anybody could
tracing,
answer? Anybody who knows?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, contact tracing is under the DILG, although a small percentage of that is also with DOH. But mainly the contact tracers are under the coverage of the DILG.
Yeah. So is there a budget for next year?
For this year, I'm sure there is, but for next year, I'm not sure whether there is an amount. I will look, Your Honor. I think there is no budget for contact tracing for the DILG next year.
Okay. And the reason why we bring this up is because we all know that we need to do this now that we are not vaccinating as many people as possible, not because of supply issues. So what needs to be done is to test, contact trace, and to treat, isolate, and treat. No? Okay. In the budget of the Department of Health, do we have adequate resources to purchase medicines needed by COVID patients?
Mr. Chair, there is no breakdown in the DOH budget regarding specifically for COVID patients. It's lumped under medicine and other supplies and materials.
Okay, so we don't know too. How much are we going to be spending for treating COVID patients?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chair, I think it will be the DOH which is in a proper position to answer that specific question.
Yeah. Remember, we are in a pandemic, huh? And these are very basic in addressing the pandemic, no?